out through the wire,
Yeah.
immediately it happened.
So the
And-
beam came
mhm.
down, you said.
And, you know, he's there, and all of a sudden, like turning off the light, he's gone, and the light went out, the craft took off. But, you know, you had those security officers coming up, and, you know, they had their M16s, and they were locking the loading rounds. Stop or we'll shoot, stop or we'll shoot. And it was the colonel who said, everyone, hold your fire, hold your fire. And I was waiting to die. I mean,
Yeah. You were going to do it.
yeah, I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it, but
Yeah.
that night I was waiting to die.
Yeah, I hear you.
And, you know, Colonel came up and told me, why did you do this? Why did you go ahead? Says, you know, what you did is a court-martial offense. Aiding and abetting is a court-martial. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Aiding and abetting, I said, when we use the term aiding and abetting, that's aiding and abetting the enemy. And, excuse me, you said he was a guest?
Yeah.
Then he says, well, all I'm telling you is, next time you're going to do something like this, tell me, okay?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I said, if I told you, he wouldn't have gotten out of there. He says, we could have worked something out. I said, you know what? It probably wouldn't have been acceptable to him, whatever it is you wanted to work out.
Yeah.
And the situation, when you went in to do a recovery, the ones, and I know we knew this, it was part of the policy. We knew that when we went in to do a recovery, if we get there first, we had certain latitudes that we could work in. If we got there and they'd already found the rescue ship that came to rescue the ones that were involved in the crash,
Yeah.
then all we could do was sit back and observe.
Mm.
And in our own little way, and I'm not sure how it happened, we offered our assistance if they needed it,
Yeah.
but we did not move in on site.
Yeah.
How often did that happen, where you'd see a recovery spaceship come and try to save their guys? I mean,
Well, actually, I think it was Look Magazine in 1966, 67 time frame, in which Dr. Hynek was talking about his involvement with UFOs during
Yeah.
Blue Book, and he talks about, I think it's 1963, there at Edwards Air Force Base, the Dry Lake bed, where they sent a strike team, which is a heavily armed security force, to go out because there was a UFO that landed on the Dry Lake bed. And this was actually in the Blue Book files.
Uh-huh.
And I don't
One
know
of
if
the
it's
true
still there
ones.
now, but
It's videotaped too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it was videotaped?
well, actually, yeah, there was, but he didn't make mention of the videotape.
Mm.
But there was videotape.
Yeah.
But you know, it had come down and just like a leaf going back and forth like that, and landed right there on the Dry Lake bed. Now the strike team, heavily armed strike force, they're heading out there to where it's set down. Well, on their way out there, they see this other object looking identical as the one that's down on the Dry Lake bed, coming down, and it's going back and forth like that. It got a little way over top of it, then started to rise. And when it started to rise, it brought up the craft that was on the ground.
Wow.
Like there was
Like a-
pardon my French,
they
like
were
a tractor
retrieving,
beam.
yeah.
But the strike team was still going on out there trying to get there to prevent that from happening. Which tells me right off the bat, there was no one there that had any training in the recovery of these objects.
Yeah.
They would have stopped right there when that other craft showed up.
Yeah.
And the unit that actually went ahead and trained the various people on the alphabet soup of the intelligence community was, and what was the name of the squadron? The 33rd, 80th, I think it was, Air Force Training Squadron out of Keesler Air Force Base there in Mississippi. Did I mention for 3 years I was stationed at Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi?
Somewhere along the line.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was the admin NCO for the Army Detachment,
Oh, yeah.
and we taught two things. that was moon dust type recoveries,
Right.
and we also taught the TSOC course.
What is it?
The TSOC course, that was a communications course.
Oh.
And we had both.
Communicating with the entities course?
Oh,
or-
no. That was actual down to earth communications.
Okay.
That was a 9-month course for both officers and enlisted men. We would send the officers for 1 week in the last month of that course. We would send them to Washington, D.C. While they were there, they were given a tour and a briefing by the NSA. Based on that tour and that briefing, the NSA would pick the people that they wanted to be assigned to the NSA, and they were assigned to the NSA.
Yeah.
And I had little dealings with the enlisted people. But from what I understand, the enlisted people, they would select a group of people, not send everyone,
Right.
to go there, to go to Washington. And from that group, the NSA would select the enlisted people that they were going to utilize. The only problem I had while I was there was, and I didn't really realize, and I really didn't, that it was wrong, because we had he was from one of the Middle Eastern countries, and he was a colonel. One of the captains, he and I became good friends. Kuwait, that's what it was. And he gave, and I still have that somewhere in one of the boxes around here, but he gave me a little pin with the Kuwaiti flag and the U.S. flag. And that was to symbolize that we were friends. But this colonel, he went ahead and said, well, yeah, we were there. And okay, the colonel was Egyptian, because he said during the 6-day war there, we would have defeated the Israelites had you people not come in and got involved. Well, there was a Israelite colonel there also, and I mean, very smug.
Yeah.
If you were not an Israelite, you weren't nothing.
Yeah.
And he went ahead and he sat back, said, we defeated you people. We didn't need America's involvement. And the colonel says, yeah, you did. And I said, well, what is it we're talking about here? What happened? And he went ahead and said, well, we could go ahead and we had weapons. We could hit their tanks and destroy their tanks. We had shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles that we could go ahead and shoot down their aircraft. And when they'd go ahead and they'd try to utilize their aircraft to stop our advances, we went ahead and shot their aircraft down. Then all of a sudden, several U.S. aircraft showed up, and they started to go up, making loops in the sky like this. Then we'd go ahead and fire our surface-to-air shoulder-fired missiles at the aircraft. They'd go up, get close to the aircraft, and just fall back down to the earth. Said then we had the same problem with our artillery and our tanks, all because of those aircraft.
Wow.
And the colonel said there were no aircraft like that. And the Egyptian colonel said, I was there, I lost a lot of people. And I know that's what it was, and it was the Americans that utilized that system. Colonel, you're in the Israelite army. Have you ever considered just maybe the Americans didn't give you this technology because they didn't trust you with it? And we didn't need the Americans' help. And I said, can you describe this plane to me? He started talking. I said, okay. And I went ahead and I drew the aircraft to the best I could. And I'm not good at drawing. He says, yeah, it looks a little something like that. Well, I already knew the type of aircraft it was.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I said, okay, tomorrow I'll bring in the book and show you the aircraft that I think you saw that was out there. Well, no one said anything to me. But then TJ, the one always called me Pops, his father was murdered. He was black, and his father was murdered because he was black. And he went ahead and says, Pops, I think I know that type of airplane. You don't have to bring a picture or anything in. They got one landing here. I said, they don't have, and it was an F-111. They don't have F-111s here. No, 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 no. I said, there's one coming in. I don't know what the reason is, but, they have to put tighter security on it. I said, who told you? And he named one of the airmen that he'd hung around with, and he was with security police. So he was tasked to go ahead, as long as that aircraft was on the ground there, they would go ahead and provide the security. And it was like there was a red line around the craft, and anyone that got past that imaginary red line, they were supposed to shoot to kill. And F-111 wasn't supposed to be that big of a secret aircraft. Well, this one was, because it was exactly the same type that went ahead and was involved in the 7-Day War over there. To this day, we don't acknowledge that aircraft even exists. The F-111 exists, but the technology that was on these F-111s,
Right.
we do not acknowledge they exist.
And what was that? What aircraft was
The F-111.
It probably had ET
it?
technology
But it
on
had
it.
secret
That was probably
technology.
did.
Yeah.
Back engineering.
But the whole situation is, these were the only aircraft that we actually used there in the 7-Day War. And the only thing we did was stop to make the armies of the Arab nations that were attacking Israel,
Yeah.
to make them
Back up.
ineffective,
Yeah.
which ultimately led to the Israelites being able to gain the upper hand and win the 6-Day War.
What year was it?
The day of the 6-Day War,
6-Day War was in
60,
68?
yeah,